Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to discuss the remaining topics of our report, which is the formation, forms, specifically the Philippine settings, types, and artificially induced. We all know that it is already started by my partner, which is Mr. Dave Pagong. So I will just continue what he started. So he already discussed to you the formation, forms, specifically the Philippine settings, and some types. So I will just continue and input my inputs to the report. So let's dive in. So here is my objectives. The student should be able to first know what is hydraulic cycle. Second, discuss the different types of precipitation. Next is learn the essence and importance of artificially induced. And lastly, learn the process of artificially induced weather. So I hope the objectives must be successful in the end of my report. So here is my outline. First, we're going to discuss the hydraulic cycle, hydrologic cycle, type of precipitation, what is artificially induced, and what and how it works. Then the description of silver iodide and the advantages and disadvantages of artificially induced weather. So let's proceed. So hydrologic cycle. We already have the background of hydrologic cycle because the other reporters already discussed it to you, right? So I just want to refresh our mind and know the the essence of hydrologic cycle in our lives and on the lives on Earth. So the hydrologic cycle, also known as the water cycle, is a way of describing the material flow of water throughout the Earth. This series of steps describes how water moves across the Earth and changes form. We all know that water have many forms, like it could be liquid, solid, or gas. So these specific steps result in circulation of water between oceans, the atmosphere, and the land. So the starting point of water cycle could be in oceans or in land. Inland, the transpiration, I yeah, right, transpiration. If I make if that's right. Okay, that is right. So transpiration. Then in ocean is evaporation. We all know that ocean is the largest part. It contains the largest part of water in the earth, but the water in the ocean is a bit salty, so we cannot drink it. And hydrologic cycle takes part to produce natural water and usable water for us to consume. So the water cycle involves natural phenomena that include precipitation such as rain and snow, drainage from rivers, and return of water to the atmosphere through evaporation and transpiration. So when the water evaporate and get some water from the surface and the ocean, it will produce the natural water, right? So it is just like yes, it is of the cycle itself. So this natural cycling of water through a variety of different locations on Earth means that through the history of the Earth, the amount of water has been relatively constant. Little has been added or lost over the years, and this water has been continuously in motion. So it just explains that the water on Earth is not changing, but we face the changes inside the earth because we all know that there are large part of the water in the ocean were solidified or it is an ice, like in Antarctic Ocean, in North and South Pole, etc. But the as the environment as the temperature gets hotter, the the ice from those areas melts. So as we can observe, the the water rises or the water elevates from the surface of the earth. So global warming is very controversial, and we must be um, we must be the one who will um, who will be warned, or we must um, do whatever we can to prevent, or to not to stop, to prevent it, to minimize the effect. So let's proceed. So these are the types of precipitation. First is rain. It's most commonly observed drops larger than drizzle, 0.02 inch or zero point 0.5 millimeters or more are considered rain. However, smaller drops are also considered raindrops if, in contrast to drizzle, they are widely separated. So, um, rain is liquid, right? So, as what we see in this, the description of rain, it considered rain if it is kanang if it is widely separated, because if it is compact it will become somehow a gas, if that makes sense, right? So let's proceed to drizzle. Drizzle, fairly uniform precipitation composed exclusively of fine drops very close together. So rain is widely separated and drizzle is close together. Drizzle appears to float while flowing air currents, but unlike fog droplets, it falls to the ground. Quite often, fog and drizzle occur together. So drizzle is somehow considered water and gas. That makes sense because as we all observe, fogs is very light. It can flow freely in the air, while the drizzle is fog-like, fog-like, fog-like components, fog-like look-alike of fog, which is can float to the currents of the air, but it will always go down to the ground. That makes sense. So let's proceed. Ice pellets or sleets, precipitation of transparent or translucent pellets of ice, which are round or irregular hard grains of ice consisting of frozen raindrops or largely melted and or frozen snowflakes. So ice pellets, in Philippines, we cannot encounter this because we do not have the climate which can contribute to the to the production of ice pellets, right? Because here in the Philippines, we only have two seasons, which is the rainy season um and the season. So snows cannot be produced. So let's proceed. The hail. Hail precipitation in the form of small bowls or other pieces of ice falling separately or frozen together in irregular lumps. Associated with thunderstorms, individual hailstones are 1/4 inch or 5 millimeters or greater in diameter. Hail sizes of 1 inch to 2.5 centimeter or 2.5 centimeter or more are indicative of severe thunderstorms. So although we do not experience or encounter we could not encounter snows or the ice pellets, but these in some regions um, we somehow encounter this when the thunderstorms are present, and um, it is very heavy. The rain is very heavy, so it develops a hail because of the thunderstorms. So if we encounter thunderstorms, we can observe the presence of hail. That makes sense. So let's proceed. Small hail, small hail, small hail or snow pellets. Precipitation of white opaque grains of ice that are round or sometimes conical. Diameters are less than 1/4 inch millimeter. So we can consider a hail a small hail or snow pellets if it is less than 1/4 inches or 5 millimeters. So let's proceed. Snow. Snow. Precipitation of snow crystals that are mostly branched and in the form of six-pointed stars. So snow is very common in many countries except the countries in tropical ones. So although it is very beautiful to witness this phenomena, but the coldness of places, we cannot, as a tropical people, we cannot uh, adapt adapt instantly to that places because we are already exposed to tropical seasons, which is two seasons only. So, but as but if I am going to be if I can control the seasons, I want to experience this season, the snow and the coldness of the surroundings. So let's proceed. Snow grains, precipitation of very small, white, and opaque grains of ice. Basically, this is frozen drizzle. So if we have the drizzle, the fog-like one, if it solidifies, it will become a snow grain. That makes sense. So let's proceed. Ice crystals, generally occurring in very cold regions. They are falling crystals of ice in the form of needles, columns, or plates. Also called diamond dust, ice crystals appear like fog with individual water particles forming directly as ice. The shape of the individual ice crystals causes the light pillar optical effect above the light source. So it is only present on the very cold regions. This phenomena is very beautiful. It is eye-pleasing, and it is just wonderful to see this art made by the nature. So let's proceed. Artificially induced. So what is artificially induced? It's a practice of artificially inducing or increasing precipitation through clouds by adding external agents. So basically, uh, um, it is a made, human made or man-made weather. That makes sense because um, in in some areas which they experience drought, some people I the people with that country will have this practice to make it rain. So the foreign particles which are drenched over these clouds can be dry ice or solid carbon dioxide or silver iodide, salt powder, and etc. This process is known as cloud seeding. This is stimulation is done by airplanes or rockets and then finally rain on. So it's what I've explained earlier. So this is the process. The process of make it rain. The process of make it rain. So agitation, building up stage, and seeding. So agitation is the starting point. The first stage includes the use of chemicals to stimulate the air mass upwind or of target area to rise and form clouds. So the chemicals that the plane brings, um, can stimulate the air mass upon the target area to rise the formed clouds. So the chemicals, if that chemical will be present in the atmosphere, it will form clouds, and clouds can make rain, right? So these chemicals absorb the water vapor and helps in the process of condensation. Chemicals like a calcium oxide compound of urea and ammonium nitrate or chloride calcium carbonate. So um, in short, uh, these chemicals helps to form clouds. Or if you can see the fish net, uh, the fish net, for example, um, it can um, it can compromise the air or the humidity in the atmosphere to to put it in one place, right? The water that is present in the atmosphere, the chemicals helps it to compromise and make it one cloud. So the building up stage. In the second stage, the mass of the cloud is building up or build up by urea, dry ice, pitch, and salt to increase the density of the cloud. So when the chemical is already present in the atmosphere, it will build up the vapors which is present in the atmosphere, put it in one area, and accumulate and create a big cloud. And seeding. In the final stage of pursuing the artificial rain, supercool chemicals like dry ice or iodide are bombarded with pressurized canister onto the base of the clouds to build the beads of water, make them fall as rain. So if the clouds cannot contain the water vapor in that place, it will make a way to what call that to lessen the weight, right? So it will produce rain, and the rain is the final product of cloud seeding. That makes sense. So let's proceed. Oh, so here is the illustration of how to make rain. How and excuse me, what and how it works. So first is silver iodide released in the plane or ground. So as what I've said earlier. So when the plane will release the chemicals in the atmosphere, and these chemicals will get the water vapor within the area and put it into one place, and that water vapor will turn into a cloud, right? So these clouds will make a big, it is like a big basket or a cotton of rain, if that makes sense. A cotton of rain. If these cottons will cannot contain the water here, then the water will explode, or not explode, will drop, and it is it causes rain into the surface. So if that makes sense. So okay. To make rain, the clouds are showered with ice crystals through airplanes or layers. The moisture in the clouds condenses around the ice crystals and become too heavy to stay afloat. So these droplets fall as rain. So this is my explanation within this illustration. So you can read lang. So cloud seeding is a weather modification technique that improves a cloud's ability to produce rain or snow by artificially adding condensation nuclei to the atmosphere, providing a base for snowflakes or raindrops to form. After cloud seeding takes place, precipitation falls from the clouds back to the surface of the earth. So it is simple as that. Um, you make you gather chemicals, you put it in the atmosphere, and the chemicals will do the work to compromise the water vapor within the area. Then the water vapor, when the clouds cannot contain the vapors or the water within the area, then it can cause the rain. And the rain will be beneficial to the people down in the surface. So let's proceed. What is silver iodide? So silver iodide is an inorganic compound with the formula Ig. The compound is a bright yellow solid, but samples almost always contain impurities of metallic silver that give a gray coloration. So it is this chemical is one of the chemical that tested and proven that brings a less toxic into the surface. It is the referred compound to be or to help us make rain. So the silver contamination arises because Aja is highly photosensitive. This property exploited in silver-based photography. Silver iodide is also used as an antiseptic and in cloud seeding. So let's proceed. So here are the advantages and disadvantages of making artificially induced weather. So the advantages are advantages of cloud seeding creates rain. So yes, it creates rain. It does not make rain. It also regulates water vapor that turn and prevent damage brought by destructive hails and storms. It saves dry place from drought. So the main point of having cloud seeding is to save the dry places from drought. So through the raindrops, uh, uh, through the product of cloud seeding, which is the raindrops, it can make the place humid again. If that makes sense. So these are the disadvantages of cloud seeding. It uses chemicals which can harm the environment, especially plants and animals. So every man-made phenomena we can already observe that there is always a toxic, or there is always a bad effect to the environment, right? So though silver iodide is not currently known to be harmful to our health today, but it might change in the future as more research is done on that. The technique is mostly used on clouds that already show early signs of rainfall, so it is not known if it actually causes the rain. Since it modifies the weather, it might change the climatic pattern. It is very expensive. So as what the advantages said, the cloud seeding creates rain, but it does not make rain. So it is just what can call that? It's just like an instrument to help us produce rain. It cannot make, but it can help. So, and also it is expensive. As we all know that everything we made have its price right. So to produce this artificially induced weather, we must pay, and it is big. So let's proceed. So that ends my report. So I hope you learned something from it, and thank you for staying tuned, and sorry for the noises behind me in my background. So that's all. Thank you. Goodbye. Have a good day.